All right, all right, all right. What is going on? It is episode 2 of the Bloodied and Bruised podcast. I am here once again with my boy Kristian. We are going to recap the chaos, the craziness, the fulfillment of the hype that was UFC 300. Kristian, hit me. How was it watching it with your coworker, dude?
Oh man, that I could only dream of my first event ever watching a fight live being UFC 300. It was I for a minute I didn't know how 300 could deliver on the hype that would been built up, but then it just smashed it. I mean, Pereira and Hill, that first round knockout, Gaethje and Holloway. I mean, that's gonna live forever. Just a whole card from top to bottom is just an amazing card. How about you?
Man, so it was definitely crazy. I think I may have told you this through text. I had a tree blow down in a storm last week. So it took out part of my fence. So Saturday, waiting on some friends to help. We started rebuilding the fence and whatnot. And I was really in a time crunch, as bad as it sounds. I was telling like my wife, I was like, dude, this like I don't want to miss any of this stuff. I know I can put it on my phone or on my TV or whatever at home, but like let's grind this out. Let's get it done so I can get ready and head out to the bar with a buddy of mine, Tyler, and my cousin Jordan, and got it in the nick of time. Literally, we got in the car, headed to the bar, and watched the first round of Garbrandt and Figueiredo on my phone. Got there, and then from there, just finished out the night. It was great. As I told you, there was an incident, so I missed most of the Justin Gaethje fight due to the incident, and then just the after effects, if you will, of all the people. It was a big bar, hundreds of people there talking about the incident. Unfortunately, a guy was rendered unconscious. He had cardiac arrest, and from what I understand, the dude passed away. Actually, it was really unfortunate. Out of a respect thing and just like thinking about the guy and kind of praying for the guy too. Just I felt like it was really disrespectful with what was going on to pay attention to the fight. So directed my attention to that. So thoughts and prayers to the guy's family. Is really unfortunate. But yeah, I don't want to bring the mood down, but definitely just want to give my respects to that. That's really unfortunate. So yeah, rest in peace to that guy, man.
Yeah.
And I'll be with his family. It's horrible. But other than that, not to lighten the mood too much from that, the event was fantastic. There was some crazy fights, some crazy finishes, some fights that surpassed my expectations, some fighter performances that surpassed my expectations, and I'm sure they did for you too.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
it was crazy. Like it was crazy. And the whole time thinking about what you and I talked about last week, I was like, wow, some of this is coming to fruition and whatnot. And then before we really dig in, there's something I had a couple people watch back episode 1, and I rewatched it myself to give myself any critiques. Something that I screwed up on, and I want to address this because I don't want hindsight anybody to ever hold this against me. During the Rakić Jerry breakdown, I kind of got slurred in my words and said something when I started talking about Anthony Smith, his fight against Rakić. I meant to say that I know Anthony is kind of on a down skid and he hasn't been performing as well. But the sentence came out as, I know Anthony, I'm a big fan, because I am a fan. And it just kind of,
Mm,
I'm sure nobody thought too much of it, but I just wanted
right.
to verify, like, hey, I don't want to be that guy. Like, I know that guy. And it's like, you do? And it's like, well, not really. You know, he liked a
Yeah.
Twitter post of mine. So anyway, I'm ready to get into it. Start from the top to the bottom, run through it. We got some other things we want to jump into, but let's dig in. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So main event, Jamal Hill versus, let me rephrase that, Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. Bro.
How is he doing this? How is he doing this? He's
You,
just coming over to MMA, being here less than what 3 years, 4 years, and he's double champ defending. It's bro that moment of getting kicked low blow, waving off Herb Dean, and then knocking Hill out a couple seconds later. I mean, crazy, right?
it's the stuff that movies are made of, right? Like you can't
just looked at him, just didn't even look at Herb. Just I got this.
let me cook, bro, is what everybody on Twitter's saying, right?
Yeah, let me cook.
It's you couldn't script it any better. Now, I mean, Hill definitely, it wasn't like he was out of his element going on early in the fight. They traded kicks. Seems like Hill landed some leg kicks of his own. So it definitely, the time that it lasted kind of lived up to my initial expectations or what I thought was going to happen. It would stay competitive, but one guy would pull away. As we said, it was close. I obviously leaned Hill. You leaned Pereira. But to see, I knew Pereira could starch him. But in the manner with which it happened was just, I know the Holloway knockout is kind of shadowed over everything. And then actually rewinding a little bit earlier into the night that the performance bonuses went to Jiri and Max. Obviously Max 100%, right? I can think of two.
We're going to get into Jiri. We're going to get into Yuri. I got a lot to say.
That was nuts too. That was a wacko one. But I think the Pereira one, to me, like that had to be a performance bonus winner. I don't know how it wasn't. But either way, the guy. Go ahead.
No, I was saying with Pereira, if you come into a fight that's almost a pick'em the way it was, and you starch the guy after in the manner, and I mean, there's not many times we see somebody get hit with a low blow, call off the ref without breaking eye contact. I mean, I can only think of really that one. I mean, it's just he said what he was going to do. Hill said what he was going to do. He said he was going to stand with him. He wasn't going to take him down. I mean, that one. I don't know if that one deserved a performance bonus over Diego Lopes, but I do think over Yuri 100,000%.
Yeah,
it's not even close.
Yeah, I think like you said earlier, Pereira is the real deal, man. I don't want to see him to go to heavyweight personally, at least not yet. Like
I don't want to see him fight Tommy Aspinall. Like Tom Aspinall is a different beast.
Yeah, I don't need to see it. I really don't. I know there's some people that say they do. I don't. The fight that needs to be made is 100% Magomed Ankalaev, in my opinion.
And Magomed is already coming out and saying exactly what Hill said. Oh, he doesn't have to worry about me taking him down. I'm going to stand and strike with him. Please do. Please do. You're talking about one of the most elite kickboxers of all time. And these guys, I don't know if they have a chip on their shoulder or what, or they want to make the fight harder on themselves, just like when you're swinging a bat with a donut on it. But Magomed, he got tore up by Jan's leg kicks. Pereira kicks better than Jan. Period.
Bingo. That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, I could see him implementing a wrestling game. He did shoot on Johnny Walker in the first round of the first fight, right?
And he almost caught that knee.
Right. True. But my thing is the dude is a great wrestler, but he has a tendency to strike because he's a great striker too, right? But I think he could wrestle his way. I don't see how he beats him on the feet. I honestly don't. The dude's a great counter striker. I just don't see, regardless of how good he is, I don't see it. I think, like you said, the leg kicks, Jan Blachowicz tore his legs up. What do you think Alex Pereira is going to do?
He's going to do worse. And here's the Jan stopped kicking in the fourth. About 2 minutes into the fourth round, he did not throw another leg kick till the end of the fight. Pereira won't make that mistake. If Jan throws 4 more leg kicks, that fight is over and Jan is a champion. I know that he hurt his lower shin and he felt like it was ice. That's what Jan said. But man, if you'd have thrown 2 or 3 more, Magomed's leg wasn't just ice. It was not even there anymore. He was running backwards trying to get away from those leg kicks. And Pereira is more efficient and more accurate with them. I just don't see if Magomed stays true to his word, or it could just be talk. If he wrestles, it could be a very good fight. It could be a very even fight. Maybe we see that Pereira's wrestling maybe is his weakness, but nobody's really exploiting it on him yet. Maybe Magomed could do that. But if he just decides, I'm going to stand and bang with this elite kickboxer, 2 or 3 rounds in, I don't see him walking on his left foot.
Agreed. I think I think, I mean, do you agree that's the fight to make? I think it has to be, right? Has to be.
100%.
Right.
100%.
Okay. Well, cool. So let's move on. So Holloway, wow. Boy, was I
So
wrong on
let's
this one.
Wei Li was next.
Oh,
Wei Li
there
and
you
Yan.
go. And that's what's so unfortunate is that fight overshadowed so much. So
So
I
Wei Li and
was
go ahead.
go. Oh, well, all I was going to say is actually this one I was very right in how I thought it would
Mhm.
go. If she implemented the wrestling,
Yep.
it was her fight, for lack of a better term, to lose. How she didn't lose, how she didn't get the win in what was it, the first round?
First round, the last minute of the first round. That girl, Yan was out. She was out
Exactly.
cold.
I know a lot of
I
people
mean,
that lost some crazy prop bets on that one. That's
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, and Yan did come back. She had a good third round.
Was that the round she knocked her down in, right? Was the third?
Yeah, I
Okay.
believe so. I could be wrong about that, but in my head it says third. But Wei Li went out there and did what Wei Li does. She is the best at her weight class, and I don't know who is. You said last time we were talking, you said Tatiana Suarez.
Yeah, and that's got to be who's next. That's got to be who's next.
I think you might as well pack it. I mean, all those other girls besides Suarez, maybe she has a chance. I'll believe you, but I don't see who beats Wei Li for a minute.
Yeah,
She's
now.
elite.
Yeah, same. There's not much to be said. She went out there. She showed fight IQ rather than taking a risk and standing with a very, very, very good striker. She
I mean,
took the path of least resistance.
I feel like this one was the one this is one of the few that we were very right on, both of us together. This one was, and it wasn't not like it was a hard fight to predict, but she implemented her game plan to a T, and the fight, besides the couple knockdowns, it didn't look close. It's Wei Li. I think she's the best female fighter. Her fight with Joanna is my favorite female fight of all time. It is elite. Her striking, her wrestling, the way she does for her takedown timings, she's just crisp. She's crisp.
Yeah, she is, and I may have mentioned this last week, and forgive me if I did, but my wife watches, right? Occasionally. She'll depends on, what's going on. If it's a fight night or whatever, and she's at the house, sometimes she's doing something, sometimes she joins me and my cousin when we're watching. But if it's a big fight or a fight from somebody she really, really knows, she'll go out of her way to watch it. Like she knows a lot more than she would let on, right?
Right.
But the one fight, like when we're sitting around, like her parents were here a couple years ago and we were doing something, and me and my father-in-law were watching some stuff, and I was like, man, I know you're more partial to boxing, but you got to see this, and this. And my wife sat down and was like, Taylor, what are we doing? You got to put on Weili Zhang versus Ioane on Jacek. Like that's my wife. When you ask her about a fight, if she's talking to somebody and fights come up, that's the fight she 9 times out of 10 is going to bring up, because it was such a banger. Joanna's head, the slow motion of it jiggling, it was insane. And my wife loves showing the before and after pictures of that.
Yeah,
like, it's so crazy. But yeah, that's like, you can't debate that that's the greatest female fight of all time. It's one of the greatest. Me and my buddy were actually talking about that. Shout out to Wes. He's the one. I could have given him a shout out last week. He's the one that got me into the sport. And the other night we were just talking about great fights, all-time classics, and I don't remember what led to that conversation, but the two that he said stuck out to him, and I knew that one was one of them. But one he brought up, which we can kind of give a little nod to later, that I didn't realize was his top two, and he's like, it's crazy because they were the same year, is Weili Zhang versus Ioane on Jacek, and then the December pay-per-view. Yeah, December pay-per-view. Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno won. And I was like, you know what? Fantastic fight. Great fight. It's kind of an unsung one. But anyway, we digress. So it's got to be a no-brainer that it's Tatiana Suarez next. I don't see anybody else. It's a clear number one contender. I don't see anybody else at 115 that makes sense more than that. And, I guess If Whaley wins that one in dominant fashion, I'm just sitting here glancing at the rankings off the top of my head without actually pulling them up, which we will do for the next fight. I just don't see anybody at 115 that's a clear-cut contender. She'll be at 2 defenses, which isn't really that much. I guess there's a lot that could happen, but I'm open to her shooting up to 125, possibly. There's a lot going on there still. There's a lot. There's Manafiro definitely needs to be fighting for a title. It sounds like we're getting Grasso Shevchenko 3. So that weight class is kind of in a weird, I don't want to call it a stalemate, but it's in a weird place where, yes, maybe, I don't want to say she deserves, but I could see the option of that. But she also doesn't need to be able to skip the line over Manon
Right.
Fiorot.
Yep.
But anyway, moving on. This one I was so beyond wrong.
Did you go back and watch it?
I tried to on MMA Core, but it kept giving me really bad problems. Usually I'm able to. It was fighting with me pretty bad.
I can hook you up. I can send you a link to it so that you can watch it. But
yeah, I'd like to.
I can talk about this fight forever. This fight was amazing. It was amazing. I don't know what was wrong with me where I thought Max was going to get destroyed. Not destroyed, but I was like, oh, I'm used to seeing Max at 145. I'm like, it's not like it took a year to bulk up to 155. He's going to be, maybe there's going to be a power disadvantage. Of course, he'll have the speed, but it's Gaethje with the leg kicks. Oh, leg kicks just don't matter to Max Holloway. That's the moral of the story. He can get kicked in the legs 75 times by one of the most elite leg kickers in the 155-pound division. It's not like skill-wise elite. I'm talking about like he torques his whole body, and he's going to whip his shin right into your calf, and Max Holloway doesn't even limp. He's got a 3 or 4 inch knot on the side of his calf. Yeah, that's cool. I'm just going to go forward on it. I'm not going to change stances. Max blessed Holloway, man. He's crazy. That fight, that ending, the clinic he put on, he was going he's up at least 3-1 on going into the fourth, pointing at the ground. I mean, his logo being that and coming to fruition like that. I mean, who else but Max Holloway, dude?
Yeah, and that's so I mean, every now and then I would catch a glimpse of the TV, right? Or a TV, and was catching it, and I was like, man, he is considerably faster. Like, I thought that was very clear, which, I mean, it kind of goes without saying he's a smaller weight class, right? But I thought it was a very, very clear speed difference. And then, I saw he threw the turning side kicks a couple times with the jumping. I guess he jumped on the first, at least in the first round.
The last second of the first round and broke his nose.
Yeah.
Now let's to play devil's advocate. You're going in after the first round, a close first round with a broken nose, and then come out in the first minute, get poked in the left eye, and then 25 seconds later get poked in the right eye. I mean, who else is going to continue the fight and fight like a dog except for Justin Gaethje?
That was both really that close back to back.
Yeah. Oh, they pokes him in the eye. They separate, and he's fine. Doctor comes in and he's like, I can see, I'm fine. They go back, and it was within 40 seconds he gets poked. If he got poked in the left eye the first time, it was the right eye the next time. So he got both his eyes poked and broke his nose. He's like, I didn't hear no bell.
Wow. Okay. And I knew that people were saying that the eye poke definitely probably played a little bit into it, right?
I mean, of course it did.
But I mean,
to what extent is where you can argue.
Yeah, like in how long? Like, was it? I'm sure, yeah, for at least probably the rest of the round, depending on how deep they were. But
the first one was pretty
pretty bad. Yeah, you'll have to send me a link because I'll have to watch it. But yeah, it was the glimpses that I caught, and then I want to say that we sat down late third, early fourth, and then once again there was a lot of discussion about the stuff that had been going on. But I was just like, man, and we were talking about the power difference and how the Dustin Poirier power difference, which I watched that fight back last night, testing the TV out fantastic. One of my favorite fights of all time. But watching that kind of gave a lot of people, the impression the power difference is going to be there. But I think that fight showed two things, or both of these fights showed two things. One, obviously Dustin Poirier or Max Holloway has a chin. Two, which apparently they didn't count that as a knockdown, which is kind of crazy to me.
That's a
And there was
knockdown.
to me it was. And there was another one I saw that it looked like Gaethje kind of got dropped too, and they didn't count that one either. But my point is that fight also showed that the difference in the Poirier fight versus the Gaethje fight, or the second Poirier fight, I should say, is it showed that Dustin Poirier is a way, way, way better, more technical striker than Justin Gaethje. The power difference, it showed basically that the power difference wasn't the only reason he won against Holloway the second time. And I know most people would be able to admit that. And I already know what you're getting ready to say at different places in their careers.
No, that's not what I would say. I would say this fight shows what Max Holloway getting 6 months to go up in weight to make 155.
Yep.
Is a much healthier, much stronger Max Holloway than I think it was 3 months or 4 months.
I think it was less than that, dude.
It was less than that. I didn't want to be exaggeratory and say it was 6. I think remembering is like 2 months, maybe like 8 weeks out that they decided they were going to do this. So if you have 8 weeks to put on the weight to cut down to 155, he calls himself Muffin Top Max in that fight. And he's like, it was a couple years ago to the day that Muffin Top Max fought Dustin. This was going into that fight. And he goes, I'm a different person now that I adjusted to this weight class. And I think he proved it.
Yeah.
I think Max Holloway looks fantastic at 155. I mean, obviously the fight to make, I think, is him versus Topuria, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, it's kind of one of those weird things, and we're about to pull up the rankings here, but definitely. Go ahead.
But I wouldn't mind him seeing fighting Islam, or the winner of Islam Dustin.
But
bro, you beat the number one contender and the BMF holder. If you said I want to stay in this weight class, I want to fight the winner of Islam Poirier, Tsarukyan, that victory doesn't get you a title shot. 100%.
Fair. I mean, if both fights had been, if Max had been a constant at 155, I think he 100% is right there. He's the next guy after Dustin. 100%.
I think a win in the dominant fashion against the clear cut. If Justin Gaethje goes, nah, I don't want to fight Max Holloway for the BMF belt. I'm going to wait and I'm going to fight Islam in June. He's clearly the number one contender and fights Islam. So if you come in and you beat the brakes off the number one contender and knock him out, starch him with 1 second left in the most dramatic fashion after pointing to the ground saying, I'm up 4-0. Come, I'll give you a chance. Come on, come get it. And you starch him and you go, Islam, Dustin, whoever wins, I'm next. I'm 100% behind you.
I think that would have been the likelihood that Dana would definitely. I mean, at the post-fight press conference, Dana was like, "Hey, we've made this public. This isn't one of the finishes from a pay-per-view or any event, because they keep even the ESPN stuff on the down low too. We're broadcasting this, share it with your friends, kind of thing." So I definitely think if Max had went in there and been like, BMF, what, blah 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 blah, Islam, I'm coming for you, kind of thing. Yeah, there's probably a pretty good chance that they'd be like, all right, cool, let's do it.
Yeah.
But for the sole fact that he seems to have his sights set on Ilia Topuria, I think is why. And apparently, I don't know if you saw this, but apparently they approached Armin that night too, after the fight. And we're like, all right, Islam's wanting to fight, June 1st?
Yep.
Are you ready? And he's like, no. Which, honestly,
I agree with that.
Yeah. Why not?
You want a full camp. You want a full camp for Islam. He already took the fight on Islam. Tsarukyan already took the fight against Islam on short notice.
Yes, I think it was 3 weeks notice.
No. If Armin's going to fight Islam, full camp. Yes. I want to see these elite grapplers go at it. I really do want to see Armin fight Islam. I'm just saying, if Max was like 155 is my new weight class, I say he skips the line and goes straight to the title shot.
Yeah.
But Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
No,
go for it.
I would say, what do you read anything into Ilya's reaction to Max beating up Gaethje? Because I do, man. There's a lot of times when people are like, "Oh man, that was crazy," but he was like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah, I think I'm not gonna say it was. I don't like to say any of these guys are afraid of each other. I'm sure that sometimes they avoid each other. Probably. I think that was more of a shock factor because most people, I know there are people that picked Max, but the people that picked Max, I don't think ever figured, oh yeah, maybe he TKOs, but is he gonna? I mean, nobody's done Justin Gaethje like that. Flatlined. That's like one of the greatest knockouts of all time.
All time.
100%.
That will live on in history.
100%. That's. I mean, whoa. I mean, I literally stood up in the bar and very few, you'll get a reaction out of me watching a fight live, but to get me off of my feet where my hands are on my head and my jaw is dropped, just looking around at complete strangers, just like, what did we just see, is very, very rare. I can think of 2 times that has happened to me. One, Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman 2. That 100%. One. And then Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje 2. That head kick had me.
Yeah.
And actually the Islam and Volkanovski 2 head kick had me. And that actually leads me to something I also want to point out is I mentioned, or you had mentioned that Volkanovski, I thought you said Volkanovski won, like when we were breaking down the Armin fight last week, but you were talking about Volkanovski won, like as
one. Yeah.
And I was like, what? And then I realized there was definitely confusion because you were looking at me like, oh, you're crazy. And I'm thinking, okay, you were saying Volkanovski won was a tough fight as compared to that was something else. And then another thing, since we're on this fight, we had talked about boxers. A buddy of mine, shout out to Scott, former bandmate. He actually was wrestling partners in high school with Daniel Pineda. Interesting. But he said, how are y'all going to talk about best boxers in the UFC and you're not going to talk about Sean Strickland? And I was like, all right, fair.
Oh, man. That's a good one. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. We definitely may have dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah. So anyways, we digress, but fantastic fight. So here's where I want to pull up the rankings because, bro, what? Okay. All right. So let's pull up this UFC rankings. Tell me where this makes sense. Okay. So if we want to slide Max up to number 2 in the lightweight rankings, that's kind of weird because the fight was at 55, but okay, sure. Right?
That's the featherweight?
Yes, this is featherweight right here.
Okay.
Sure. But how am I going to come over here to lightweight? I'm going to knock out who would have been at the time number 2, Justin Gaethje, flatline him at 155. I don't care if it was the BMF division. It is still 155 pounds.
It was fought at 155.
Right. Like, I mean, that's let's be honest. Dustin Poirier versus Gaethje for the BMF belt was 100% a title eliminator. We just had to tie something to it for pay-per-view. So how am I going to come in and absolutely starch at the time number 2 Justin Gaethje, and y'all are going to throw me in the rankings at number 9 in lightweight?
How is Beneil Dariush, Michael Chandler, and Garbrandt above Holloway? The world will never know.
Anybody? How is he not number 3? Sure,
he should be
behind Oliveira, but what?
No. You put him. The rankings in my head should be champion Islam, number 1 contender. Tsarukyan is fine at number 1. Number 2, Max Holloway. You don't lose. Oliveira loses. Clearly lost. Gaethje clearly lost. Same card. And I think you put him. I think you put Max number 3. Number 9 makes little to no sense.
Exactly. Like, how are you going to move up to number 1, which he was at, number 2, I guess, at 45, I believe, right? It shows that he moved up 1 spot. Okay, fair. He moved up 1 spot. But, yeah, explain that one to me. Like,
can you go up a little bit to the pound-for-pound rankings? Did he move at all on that one?
Yeah,
he went up 6 spots. Okay. I didn't check those, but that makes sense. I'm all right with that.
And actually, up until the other night, so we have Alex at 4, and Alex has been at 4. I'll be 100% honest. I thought he was lower on the pound for pound, but after the other night, like, I cannot argue with that whatsoever.
I don't hate that at all.
Yeah.
All right.
But now, why is Aljamain number 15 still? That remains to be seen. But that's a story for a different day.
Yeah, well, that's a story for a little bit later in this episode.
Yeah, that's true. So going down, we're going to touch on another fight that we literally just talked about a little bit, touched on, which is Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira. I mean,
I'll let you.
that was a lot closer
Go
than I
ahead.
thought it would be.
Yeah, I'll agree. Go, give me your thought. Did you get to watch this one?
Yes,
Right.
a little bit. I had a guy actually, so I'm kind of a social butterfly. Some dude started talking to me about it. He's like, Oliveira is going to knock him out. And I said, how confident are you? Oh, 100%. And I was like, I don't know, man. And then he's like, oh, probably first minute. And I said, I tell you what, like, let's see if I'll stand here, a complete stranger. He goes, if he doesn't knock him out in the first minute, it might have been 2 minutes, I'll buy you a beer. And I was like, okay, like, let's
Free
go
beer.
for it. Free beer. But man, it was dicey. Now, I do think Arman won.
Yeah.
But it showed 2 things. It showed that the dude has perseverance when put in positions of adversity, because a couple of those shows were deep. But it also showed to me that Oliveira isn't like, oh, this washed up, which I don't think really anybody was saying that. But it showed that he's still there. Now, do I think he's ever going to fight for a belt again, let alone touch one? Probably not. But he's still in the picture to where if you bring another guy in the rankings up to fight him, it's not a cut and dry, oh, this guy's going to walk through Charles. Charles has still got a lot of fight in him, and he's still a problem. He's going to be a top 3, top 5 gatekeeper probably at this point. And if you can get past him, you deserve to be in the picture. And if you can't, well, go fight somebody else.
I completely agree. I think lightweight has 2 really good gatekeepers. I don't think if you can't beat Beneil Dariush, you're not in the top 10. If you can't beat Charles Oliveira, you're not in the top 5.
100% agree. 100% agree.
I think this fight showed that Charles Oliveira is absolutely one of the most exciting fighters on the roster. No, who else is going to be throwing up submissions the way he does? And he's an elite grappler, always will be. He'll be the best grappler, the best submission artist in the UFC for a while. Tsarukyan, I want to see him press more, but you're fighting somebody dangerous in Oliveira. Totally get it. 100%
He's not a smart fight.
He's smart fight. You're there to win.
Yep.
You know what? The fight wasn't boring. Now, there's a difference between fighting a smart fight and being a boring fighter, and fighting a smart fight to win and still putting on a show. And he did. He put himself in some positions to try to advance, and I loved the fight all the way around. It was my favorite fight on the card. And I just think that Tsarukyan he showed, all right, I'm number 1 contender after Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, and I think the thing is too is a lot of people really crapping on the guy, really giving him a hard time. Well, you got rocked by
Silva.
Yeah. And you got rocked by that, you're getting knocked out because you got hit by a left. Well, guess what Charles is really good is a counter left. But hey, my way of looking at it, we talked about it. He recovered. He was chicken legged as a what, and he still got up and got the takedown and got on top. But I think that I can see there's probably going to be people still really discrediting him after this one, just because, well, you were a big favorite. You should have went and finished him, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I know that I talked like, oh, yeah, he's going to knock him out in the second round. And that didn't come to fruition. Charles took him to split. But that fight showed that he's not a bum. He's not this guy that doesn't deserve to be in the place that he's in. He 100% deserves to be ranked number 1. I don't think there's any arguing or debating that. I think the next fight obviously has to be Islam Makhachev or Dustin Poirier, whoever wins. I think that's pretty clear. In fact, we kind of skipped over this. So we talked about who Alex, Pereira, and Max need to fight next. So who Who does Jamal and actually we talked about who Whaley needs to fight. Who does Jamal Hill fight next?
Khalil Roundtree, I think is a good fight for him. But I'm gonna say I say that, but I also think that Yuri should fight Khalil Roundtree. So we can talk about that a little bit later. We'll get into that. Like I said, I got a bunch to say about Yuri and not a lot good. But they I don't know. I would say, can you pull up the light heavyweight rankings for me?
Yeah, dude, I can absolutely. We are there.
All right.
We are there. And
all
here
right.
we are.
Ooh. Nah, let's see. Jamal Hill, Jan Blachowicz, maybe not bad.
Yeah, that wouldn't be horrible.
Jan Blachowicz, I liked. Man, I wish Rakić would won. He fought a good fight.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Absolutely.
I guess I would say Jan Blachowicz or Krylov. I can never say his name. Nikita
Krylov.
Krylov. There you go.
Yeah, I think
one of those two.
And I heard some people calling for him to fight Jerry. I don't think Jerry should. Jerry needs to fight somebody else to get a title shot. Like, I don't think you should come off of getting TKO'd like he did. Granted, I think the stoppage was early. I don't think you should come off of a TKO like that.
Slightly early. I'm one of those people who thinks that I don't think the stoppage was bad in the Yuri and Pereira fight.
I don't think it was horrible. I don't think
it was only going to get worse for him.
Exactly.
There you go. Exactly. In agreement. So I would say Jan Blachowicz, he needs a dance partner. Jamal Hill, he come off that injury. This is his first loss. He was
loss.
He was beating Paul Craig until he broke his arm. This is his first true loss. I say Jan Blachowicz is probably the best answer.
I like
that keeps him up in the mix. It keeps him in the top 5. I don't think he should have to fight below the top 5.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Rakić probably needs, I don't want to say take time because he's been.
You already took time.
Yeah, I think and we can talk about that in a minute. But then we go to strawweight. So we obviously just had Yan Xiaonan. How about Yan Xiaonan versus, they're both coming off of title fight losses. How about her versus Amanda Lemos?
That's a good fight.
I think
that's a really good fight. That's the fight to make. Or do you make? Yeah, okay. That's the fight to make.
Because the only other people at the top that she hasn't fought is Verna Jandiroba. She's fought. I mean, until you get to Amanda Ribas, number 8 and down, sure. But she's fought 7 Mackenzie Dern. She's fought 6 Mahina Rodriguez. She's fought Andrade. Obviously, she just fought Whaley. She hadn't fought Tatiana, but Tatiana's obviously next. It's got to be Amanda Lemos or Verna, and to me, it's Amanda Lemos. Like, to me,
it's Lemos.
It's kind of a no-brainer, 100%.
I got you. I'm with you there.
So who's well, I already left it. Let's go back. Where's Gaethje at now? Gaethje needs a break. But who does he fight? I mean, do we do Gaethje versus like Benny or
I do you think Gaethje fights again?
I think he does, and I think he does because he doesn't want to go out face down, ass up like that. I think he fights one more time, looks for a pun intended highlight, and then
you take the easy fight and Dariush. And I don't mean an easy fight, but
easy.
Don't fight Oliveira again. Don't fight Garbrandt.
Yeah.
Maybe Chandler. If Chandler was an exciting fight, that was an awesome fight.
One of greats, all-time classic.
Don't fight Vazeev again.
There. Moicano's always there. Yeah, I don't know. We'll talk about that, but
I mean, yeah, if you want to give him a win, sure, put Moicano in there.
Yeah, I think Benny would be a better fight from an entertainment perspective. To me, that's the fight to make. They're both coming off of L's.
Does Benny have a dance partner right now?
As far as I'm aware, no.
All right, then I guess that we can make a retirement fight out of that one. So the loser
I think
goes
it
home.
has to be. I mean, I just can't imagine Gaethje being the type of guy he is. He's already talked about, going ahead and calling.
Both these guys have talked about, like, if I don't see a path to the championship, I don't want to be here. I'm not here. And if you put those two together, I mean, I don't see a world where Benny wins. I'm be honest, and I'm a big Beneil Dariush fan. I bought the jacket from you. It's hanging up. Like, I do love Beneil Dariush, but he has not looked good in the last two fights. And Gaethje is still Gaethje. I mean, I think Gaethje beats a lot of the top 10, but I don't know. Oh, well, I'm sorry. He beats anybody outside the top 10 and some people in the top 10.
Yeah.
I can't confidently say the same thing about Beneil Dariush.
Yeah.
Is all I
at
mean.
This point.
So
Benny's always been that guy that gets rocked and hurt, and then
that Jakar Close fight is just I know that's not everybody's favorite fight, the Beneil Dariush Jakar Close, but that's one of the coolest moments. That when he looked at him and was like, "All right, I got my eyes on you. I'm coming back for you."
That
when he got hit and just and where the mouthpiece like sat on the front of his teeth, it was really cool. I mean, so he got hit and then like stumbled and looks at him and was like, "Okay, I have to keep my eyes on you or I'm gonna fall."
So the guy that I got the hoodie from, the one that you have, I want to say, so I know two guys with Benny shorts, and I want to say his shorts that he has are from Jakar Close. Nice. And the other guys are from Drew Dober or vice versa. Anyway, I digress. So moving on down, the next one is the one you said you missed.
Bo Nickal and Cody Brundage. So if you saw this when you take over, I haven't got to rewatch it. I wasn't really that interested in this fight, to be honest with you. I mean, he's a minus 2,800 favorite.
So
okay.
I mean, here's the thing. He clearly won. Obviously, he got the finish. Round one, he clearly won, right? Mm-hmm. But it was dominant, but it wasn't as dominant as the odds would have indicated. I mean, there was one time he was hitting Cody Brundage, and Cody Brundage, of course, is just like, well, let me be funny, right? While I'm getting my ass kicked. He's all like, oh, smiling, kind of did this little gimmick like this. And it was funny. Everybody laughed. But, and I want to say it was in the first round that he shot on Brundage, and Brundage actually, rather than like just stuff tank down, he kind of like grabbed him and threw him. It was definitely not expected. I think Brundage performed better than most people thought he would. Most people that were being like not hypothetical, like I kind of was, but people that were being logical. I mean, I think he performed better. But Bo Nickal showed that he still needs to face some adversity. He
Make the Kamzat fight. All right, I'm tired of waiting for it. No. Make the Kamzat fight. Yes, make it right now. I want to watch it.
He called out Fluffy Hernandez, which he ain't ready for that. He's not.
Okay.
100% he's not, in my opinion. And Fluffy's booked anyway, but whatever. A fight that some people online were talking about was Brad Tavares, because Brad Tavares is kind of like your prospect test. If you get past Brad Tavares, your top 10, kind of how people used to say you get past Brad Tavares, your top 10 if you can knock out or finish Jarrett Brunson title shot kind of thing, right? Well, obviously, right. Jarrett Brunson's not in the picture anymore. And then one that I saw that somebody posted, actually the fighter himself posted, was Jacob Malkoon, who actually just beat Cody Brundage himself, had posted a picture like him at his computer smiling, and it said something like, Bo Nickal, where you at? Mick Maynard let it happen. And Mick Maynard actually liked the post. That one's an interesting one, because I know last week I said something about wrestler versus wrestler, but maybe wrestler versus wrestler would be good. Somebody that can, I'm not going to say they can negate Bo's wrestling, but it definitely would make it, more interesting, right? It's not as cut and dry if you have a guy that can counter wrestle, if that makes
absolutely
sense.
I mean, Bo's still going to be elite wrestler. He's still going to have the wrestling advantage over almost pretty much anybody not named Kamzat. So that I want to see that. I want to see him fight a real fight. I like that the UFC slow rolling him somewhat, because I can see the advantage of doing that and building him up. But it's time for some real competition if you're going to be on a main card.
Yeah, and then one somebody threw out too was GM3, which
No,
yeah,
no, get that shit. Nope, pass.
okay. So how about Brundage versus Chris Weidman?
Brundage versus Chris Weidman.
Mm-hmm.
Brundage, yeah, I'm down for that. I mean, Weidman looked. I mean, I know that eye poke was really bad in his last fight, but Weidman looked good. I could see Brundage versus Weidman.
Or hell, Brundage versus like Bruno Pereira well, those are both coming off of wins. But I think Bo Nickal versus somebody like Jacob Malkoon or Brad Tavares, they're
I
both
like the
good
Malkoon
litmus
fight.
tests. But
I like the
Malkoon is
Malkoon fight.
definitely my preference for sure. All right. So moving on. Let me get back here. I'm trying to remember the bout order off the top of my head, and I do not. Okay,
It's
here's
Yuri.
the one. Yes, Yuri versus
Yuri.
Alex.
I just watched an interview where he said his performance deserved. This is Yuri's words. He said, "After my performance, I deserve a title shot." Nope, no, you don't. You don't. He was. I actually think this proved that Yuri will not stay in the top 5. He
Really?
might not even stay in the top 10. I do not rate Yuri that. I don't think I think he got lucky with the Reyes fight, catching him when he did. And then the Oezdemir fight, I mean, Volkan's a great fighter, but he fought Oezdemir, Reyes, who has not been the same since the John Jones fight. He fought Old Glover, and then he's been knocked out by Pereira. And I mean, man, this fight, that leg was getting torn up. He looks okay at best in the striking department. I think the top 10 is going to eat Yuri. What do you think?
So here's like my assessment. Okay. I think that fight showed two things. The dude has clearly a ton of power, and he's so unorthodox that the power can play out. And the dude has ridiculous durability. Because, I mean, I know that we talked about how this fight's kind of 50-50. You leaned Rakić, I leaned Yuri. Excuse me. But I didn't expect Rakić. What I did say was that Yuri's gonna force Rakić to fight. He's not gonna let him play the outside game of being the guy leading the dance. He's gonna push forward. And what do you know? He did. But that just showed that if Rakić has the fight pulled out of him, the dude can fight.
Mm-hmm.
He looked so damn good. And I know I picked Rakić or picked Jiri, but I'm partial to Rakić. But damn it, dude, he looked so good. And I was like, man, are you gonna pull it off? Yeah, I mean,
this is why I leaned Rakić. I leaned Rakić because I thought if he stayed technical, he is the better fighter all the way around. And I really think my assessment was pretty spot on. He got head kicked, he got rocked, and he couldn't recover. Yeah. And credit to Yuri. I'm not going to take anything away from that Samurai's power. He would destroy me. I'm not saying anything. I'm not one of those guys like, oh, he could be. No, I'm talking about versus the other top 10. I do not like Yuri. I don't like him. I think that his stance is so weird. Like we said the last time, it creates angles. But Jan Blachowicz, Jan Blachowicz whips Yuri like a redheaded stepchild. Ankalaev whips him like a redheaded stepchild. Rakić, I was winning the fight till he wasn't. Krylov, I think gets it done by decision. Johnny Walker is Johnny Walker. We don't talk about him. Roundtree Jr. This is the fight to make. It's Yuri versus Roundtree. Yuri dies. We have to watch a murder. I mean, I don't think it's close. I really don't. Volkan Oezdemir, we've seen that one play off. Smith. All right, so past the top 8. He doesn't beat anybody in the top 8 right now, except for Rakić. It's not that he doesn't. I think he has a tough time with everybody in the top 8 is what I'm trying to say.
Right. It's not super cut and dry. His durability and unorthodoxness is kind of what saves him there. But I don't want to take anything away from his talent, but his chin is definitely something because Rakić, I mean, like, let's not act like Rakić has pillow fist. The dude was hitting him, and I was like, damn, this dude's eating it like a box of chocolates. Like, this is pretty daggum impressive.
So so Yuri wants a shot at the champion after losing all but a minute of that fight. It makes little to no sense. And sure, let's say that the UFC is like, okay, you know what, the rematch between Yuri and Pereira is going to do numbers. It's going to be worse this next time. The leg kicks are, I mean, Yuri does not look better every time he fights, but Alex Pereira does.
Yes, yes, he does.
I had some notes for this one, and on I have like positive side and a negative side. My negative side is Yuri. It says Yuri will fall out of the top 5, potentially the top 10, and I will stand on that. I'm not a Yuri hater, but I'm not a believer.
You're a doubter.
Okay. I'm a doubter. I don't hate him. I would watch his fight any day of the week because somebody's going to sleep. But one of these times it's going to be him.
Yeah, I think, and it's such a weird one because, man, you look at these rankings, man, and I mean, I guess Krylov has been mighty silent. Krylov's not active on social media, right? So it's like, I mean,
what do you think? What do you think a fight between what about the one I picked? Roundtree versus Yuri. Who do you gut instinct? Who do you take in that fight?
Yeah, man, that one. I don't know, dude. I don't know.
It's Roundtree. He's got the leg kicks. He's got the body work, and I mean, I think Roundtree's a monster. So I'm also like a Roundtree, kind of a really big Roundtree fan. So take what I say with a grain of salt, but I don't see a world where Yuri beats him.
Man, see, I do think Yuri, man, I'm not going to say he can't be champ again. I don't think he is champ again.
He cannot be champ again. I'll say it right now.
Really? Okay. I think Menifield's booked against somebody. Oh, he's booked against Carlos Olberg. Okay. So how about we do Yuri versus like Khalil? I guess Nikita, if Nikita's ready to fight. I don't know. Like I said, he kind of stays on the down low. And then how about Rakić, somebody like
Rakić has got to fight down. So
yeah, how about what's his name? Ryan Spann. Is Ryan Spann got a dance partner?
I don't think so, but I think Rakić versus
Bogdan Guskov, the guy that looks like Anthony Smith. All right, well, if
yeah.
Then how about
Smith?
Well, they've already fought, so we don't need to see.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. UFC 301 against Vitor Petrino, who I think is the real deal. I guess it could be how about Azamat Mirzakhanov versus Alexander Rakić, or maybe Alexander Rakić versus Dustin Jacoby. One of those two works for me.
Jacoby would be a fun fight for Rakić.
Yeah, they're both kickboxers, or well, they both are what I would call primarily kickboxers. Rakić has obviously got a better ground game, but yeah, I think that those are the fights to make. Let's do Rakić versus Jacoby, and let's do Jiri versus Khalil or Nikita Krylov.
I like those.
Or
I like this.
Well, no, Jan needs to fight Jamal Hill. That's the fight.
Yeah.
Those are the fights.
That's the fight to make. I like this this potential matchup for each of the fighters. I like this. I don't think too much about who they should fight next. So this put me out of my element.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. It's a little game I like to play with myself sometimes. So, right?
What do you think about my Yuri take? Do you hate it?
I don't hate it. I'm 50-50, dude. I don't disagree, but I don't agree. Like, I think that there's still so much like
Bro, I'm
his
prepared to eat my words.
toughness, dude. Like how much of a beating, like Justin Gaethje, how much of a beating can this dude continue to take? Because he gets hit a lot. So like,
It's you cannot do this against the elite fighters. I mean, Rakić, he's not known for one tap power,
no,
but he was smoking him.
he looked
If you have
beautiful,
somebody that
dude.
has just that little bit of that death touch that some of these fighters seem to have, Yuri's chin movement, it's not there.
It's
He
not
do- he's
slipping shots. It's just trying to make it hard for you to hit him.
just
And
because your arms are coming from a weird angle. I mean, people that do that, most of the time they have their head off the center line or somewhere where they're slipping shots and then they're landing one. And if they do take one, it's rolling off. It's not landing like this. He's throwing with his chest out and chin up and it's coming over his left shoulder, right, that boom, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, you hit me." I mean, I get it. His toughness is there, but at some point, you cannot just rely on I can headbutt your hand and I'll be okay.
yeah, and it's almost like the head movement isn't even a defensive tactic like it is for some guys. It's almost like I'm not going to say solely, but primarily a offensive tactic. It's to throw the other guy off visually so
Like
they aren't
fainting with his
paying
head.
attention to this to know where this is going to come from. It
Yeah,
isn't like, here, let me give you a harder target to hit. It's more of, let me make you focus on where this head is at so you're not thinking about this or thinking about this, or in
right.
this case, a lot of times thinking about this. But yeah, man, I think I don't want to say that he's just going to all of a sudden start losing. I think Khalil Roundtree, like, that's a matchup that you presented, and I think that one's interesting. And Jan, they both have power, but Khalil has a ton of power.
Khalil is a scare. I don't know how he makes the weight. I
He
I
used
mean,
to
it's got to
fight
be.
at 85, bro.
I know. He looks like a thumb with thumbs. I mean, it is just he's a massive human being. And the fight against Anthony Smith, I was like, oh my
I have
goodness,
never went back and watched that. I saw the
dude,
ending.
the thuds that are coming out of his hand when he smokes Anthony Smith. I mean, it's like taking a hammer to a log. Bonk. I mean, it's like a deep guttural thud from his
But
fist.
also, I know people have their opinions of him. Who's ever done Anthony Smith like that?
I mean,
Think
I know
about it.
Anthony Smith's old. Anthony Smith's old now.
But who has done him like that?
Nobody. He beat him up. He beat him up.
Thiago got him with a body kick.
Yeah, but
Uh,
that's and then Glover knocked his teeth out.
yeah, but that's
That's different.
different.
It
It's
was different.
different.
Khalil beat the brakes off of him.
Yeah, nobody's ever done it. People can talk about, yeah, dude, that was
The,
horrifying. I was like, good God, dude.
bro, he gave the ref enough time to get in there. He's like, I will murder this man.
And that's what's so respectable about the dude, too.
Yeah.
He is such a nasty guy, but you read interviews, you listen to him talk, super
Sweetheart.
spoken. Yeah, he looks like he's a sweet dude. Like, I feel like he would
I want to root for him.
Yeah, exactly. I root for Khalil a lot. It's hard. Like, what can you not like about the guy? Not much, right?
Right.
Not much, especially his story. Yeah, I really like Khalil. So anyway, moving on down the card. Here's the one that you were talking about: is Aljamain Sterling versus Calvin Kattar. Good God, was I wrong about this one?
All right. So, do you want to start or me?
You're the one who thinks he's an all-time great. So hey,
I do. I want to see him. I mean, I thought this went exactly how I thought it was going to go. It really did.
Really?
I mean, when we talked about it, I said his wrestling, I think he'll be able to get in. I know that everybody said that that Kattar, he was, his background in wrestling and stuff, but it's Kattar. I don't know what was up with him, or it might just be that Sterling's too strong, but Kattar got dominated.
Yeah, and so my buddy Wes, shout out to him once again. He had Sterling pitch around 3 sub. I thought you were on the same side as me. Maybe I need to go back and rewatch. I thought Well, I think maybe we both discussed that maybe he could make
Oh,
closer harder.
I think after listening to you, I think I might have switched a little bit because going into this fight, I really thought that that Sterling, if he got the wrestling going, Kattar couldn't stop it. Like if
Right.
it started off,
If he got
but
it going.
but then I was like, oh, he's going up in weight. He's a stronger guy. He's not known for his takedown accuracy. It's not like he's putting up 75% takedown accuracy. But Sterling looked good, but this was the most boring fight on the card, objectively. And I think the UFC did him a slightly dirty with he was the only one that didn't get an interview. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, he was the only one to get an interview. But I mean, kind of what we talked about with Tsarukyan. He came to win. I can't hate the guy for coming in with a strategy that wins, but at the same time, he wasn't looking for submissions the way like Tsarukyan or Oliveira was on Tsarukyan. So that it made the fight a little bit longer in people's minds. I think he looked good for the weight class. Can you pull up the rankings for this weight class? Because there was something interesting here. All right, so if we look. So this is now featherweight.
Oh, I gotta go up this way.
All right, so featherweight. Check this out. He comes in at number 8. Do you know where Kattar was ranked before this? Was he number 8?
On the UFC site where it shows I'm down,
okay,
plus so the number, vice versa over here. So yeah.
Bro, so if I was Sterling, the only thing I'll say negative to Sterling is if you come out and push the pace a little bit more, if he would have fought the way he did in round 3 in the first 2 rounds, you can make an argument that you're at the top of the division. You can challenge maybe Yair, maybe Brian, because I think Brian Ortega versus Sterling is a banger matchup.
I like that one.
Now I think because of his performance, I think they're going to feed him to either Josh Emmett or Josh Emmett or Arnold Allen. I think those are going to be the one.
Arnold Allen has got – so the matchups that I think are probably happening in this weight class now is going to be Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria, right? I think it's going to be Brian Ortega versus Movsariev Loev, and then Arnold Allen versus Aljamain Sterling.
You're wrong.
You don't think Brian Ortega fights Movsar?
There's no shot.
You think Lopes, huh?
I do. I absolutely do. Because of I do because look, Lopes has some it's not always about skill. Sometimes it's about what sells. And Lopes versus Evloev, I'm down to watch that any day of the week. That was the only exciting Moscar fight that we have had. And I think
I'm not going to disagree with that.
I mean, look, skill for skill, he's elite. Is he a boring fighter? One of the most boring on the card, on the whole roster.
Yeah.
So I think what they're going to do is they're going to take Lopes, and they are going to feed they are either going to feed him Evloev or they're going to feed him Giga Chikadze because he's wanting to come back. Good.
I was honestly thinking Giga. You know who I think would be he's going to be out for a long time. An interesting matchup. If it wasn't for him being like self-diagnosing, which, hey, dude, take all the time in the world you need after that, right? But I think Bryce versus Diego from a stylistic perspective, and maybe, I don't want to say negating, but slightly negating maybe a little bit of what Diego does, which we can dive into more. I think you're right, though.
I think they're going to feed. I think, but because you took that first fight on 28 hours notice, wasn't even full 2 days notice, and he looked that good against Evloev, and then he looks amazing against every other person you put. I mean, look, we can get into Lopes when we get there, but we'll stick to Sterling. We'll stick to Sterling right now and Kattar because that's where we left off. We should do this right. Sterling will end up fighting Arnold Allen because Dana White doesn't like him.
Yeah, agreed. There was a meme I saw that was it was this guy. Shout out Dan Levy, Best Fight Picks. Great podcast if you've never listened to it. He brings some interesting guests. He brings a lot of top guys in the betting industry and some fighters in there as well. So Dan's got some good stuff. But anyway, he pointed out that at the press conference when Dana the 300,000 bonus that Aljo apparently was up there clapping. And he said Aljo is out here clapping harder than anybody, as if he's actually stands a chance of getting a 300K bonus. And I know that's kind of shitting on the guy, but I mean, like, are we honest with ourselves here, right?
If
like,
we're honest with ourselves, that'd be like if Oliveira going like, yeah,
like, what are you gonna do, bro?
No.
Like,
you're gonna get on his back. You're gonna put him against fence, and you're gonna try to drag him down, and then you're gonna try to win on control time. Which if you're trying to win a fight and get your win money, I'm not going to hate on you. I'm not, because you're in there fighting another man for a living. That takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of heart to do, just to get in that cage. So I don't want to hate on these guys too much, but for the like, 300K in performance bonuses, Aljamain Sterling's back there, and like you heard last episode, I am high on the guy. I do respect him. I do like him. But do I think he's ever going to be fight of the night when you have Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway and Diego Lopes on a card? No, I don't.
So what do you think? Sorry, my puppy, if you can even barely call him that. Come here. You want to say hello? Probably not. He's a big dog. He just bumped into a guitar trying to lay down. But Calvin Kattar, the fight that I think makes the most sense for him. I mean, he didn't get beat up, right? He just kind of took the brunt of getting wrestled. How about Calvin Kattar versus Edson Barboza?
Oh, make that fight today.
Let's do it. I like it. I think that makes most sense from a rankings perspective.
What do you think? Kattar, is he just a gatekeeper now?
I mean, how old is the guy, dude?
I want to say he's older.
Up there. Yeah, he's got to be getting up there. Hey,
I mean, at least he goes in the Hall of Fame. At least he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, Max Holloway. Yeah,
on the B side of getting a beating.
Yeah, but he'll be in there.
God,
he'll get his jacket.
I don't know if that's why I would want to be in the Hall of Fame.
But I would rather be in the Hall of Fame because of a Hall of Fame fight than not be in it at all.
Okay, well, fair enough. I guess I'll take that one.
But that's still a fantastic. He still put on a great performance.
No, he was there.
Back. The heart. But that's so. I mean, crazy. Like, I feel with Kattar after this performance, you're in a division not unlike the 170 division. It's a wrestler heavy division.
Yeah,
you're going to, and if you can't take Sterling, who's not a power wrestler, he's a position wrestler.
Yep.
You're not going to win. You're not being champion in 145.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's got to be him versus Barboza. That's the only thing that makes he's 36, that's a fantastic fight. But I think him versus Barboza
out of it.
No, not necessarily, but
him versus Barboza, that's a fight that somebody will stand and bang with him. And I like that.
All right. So, moving on.
What's the next fight?
Kayla Harrison, or should I say Holly Holm versus Kayla Harrison. This fight, man, it went pretty close to how I had a feeling it would go. And then if you look at the ripple effect afterwards, I don't want to say I called it, but I kind of called it.
You kind of called it.
One, my buddy looked at me and was like, good God, who has ever handled Holly Holm like this? I mean, obviously, Nunes knocked her out with a head kick.
No, but this was different. But why did Holmes clinch so much? Did she have something to prove?
Think about how much she's been clinching in her last several fights. If you think about it,
true. But against a judo gold medalist and literal strongest 120. What was this fight? 135, right? Yeah. The strongest 135-pound woman on the planet. You're gonna let her get a hold of you when you're one of the most decorated female kickboxers of all time. I don't like the decision making by Holmes. I hope she retires. I don't know if she did or not, but this was the decision making, the planning. I mean, all props to Kayla Harrison, but I don't like this. I don't like the way Holmes fought, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Yeah, I think what I saw is kind of a Gaethje kind of idea of fight somebody that you can probably / have a higher likelihood of beating. In this case, somebody brought up, and I kind of agree with it, Panakian's ad. Let them fight. Maybe Holly gets a W, and then she can lay her gloves down coming off a W.
Okay.
Obviously, that's the fairy tale ending we all want for like all of our favorite fighters, right? Or any fighter, really, whether you like them or respect
Any
them or
legend.
whatever. You like to see somebody go out on a higher note rather than a lower note, right?
Right.
But I think Holly needs to do that. It's time. She's 41, 42 years old. It's 42. Okay, even better. Yeah, she's seems like a sweetheart. Just else?
I got to be honest. So in that fight, when we had a little joke going at my brother's house, there was about 4 or 5 of us watching, and when the fight started, in the picture, the profile picture, I was like, my buddy who was first time ever watching it, he was asking me about it, and he asked me if age played into it. My brother goes, yeah, it's a 42-year-old woman. That's, she's got to fight an uphill battle. And as the fight went on, he kept going, that is a 62-year-old woman. That is an 87-year-old woman she is, man. That is a 95-year-old woman she has on the ground right now. She just looked worse and worse. I mean, it's time, bro. It is time.
Yeah.
You are the most decorated female fighter almost in history, with the kickboxing accolades, the boxing accolades, the UFC titles, the highlights she has in the UFC. You've done it all. If you want to take an easy fight and go out on that, that's fine. But I'm one of those people that say you don't have to go out on a win. Your career, this is fighting. Like, your career is already on. It's going to be so hard to surpass her overall career, not just UFC, overall career as a fighter, as a male or female. She is decorated. She's elite. She's proved everything she needs to prove. She's 106 years old now. She needs to stop.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like I said, Panakian's ad fight makes sense. Nobody's done her like that, and I'm sure age has a little bit to do with it. And then freaking Joe Rogan. Oh, her back looks. I think it was something like that. Her back looks like Vitor Belfort's back. Talking about Kayla Harrison.
Kayla Harrison is a. I mean, this is we're all talking. We've been talking about Holly Holmes, but Kayla Harrison's the real deal. She showed up. She made weight. She dominated. It wasn't even close. We all know the fight to make next. We all want to see it. I want to see it so bad. Bring out Amanda. Bring out Kayla. And you called it.
I did. I have to pat myself on the back a little bit with that one. I said they're hoping to bait her out, but then Dana did say something about beating Pena and Pennington maybe. But I'm like, no. We all know that if Amanda tells you, "Oh yeah, I'll come back, make this fight for me," you're gonna be like, "All right, let's just."
That's the fight we want to see. Belt or no belt. That's the fight for the title, even if the title's not on the line.
Exactly. Well, I think there's going to be a title on the line. I really do think that Dana's going to tell Juliana Pena, you're coming off of a loss. I don't care whether you beat Amanda the time prior. You also, I think, were 1 win prior to that. Like, I think she lost by submission to GDR. I'm trying to remember who she beat before she fought Amanda. Then she obviously finishes Amanda and then just gets clowned, if we're honest. I just don't see any reason. Like, we've got a woman that's in her prime age. Let's throw her in there. Let's feed her Pennington. I know Pennington probably don't want it, but make her fight her, and then bring Nunes out of retirement, and let's see what happens. I don't have a lean on that one. I'd have to really sit and think about it. But either way, I want to see that fight. I think it's interesting. I wanted to see that fight a couple years ago when Nunes was still active.
All right, so let's say Kayla Harrison, the way she looked, and Nunes coming off a layoff. Who do you pick, gun to your head right now?
If Holly hadn't been older, I would feel a little more confident in Kayla, because I'd be thinking she took down somebody that is hard. I mean, you still think, well, she's hard to take down. Holly is. Who has done Holly like that on the ground? Nobody.
Yeah, and I don't like that Holly went in and she looked for the grappling. So Nunes
she
is not going to.
one position on the first takedown.
She did, and Kayla Harrison even said so. Like, hey, look, she reversed me. She's strong as an ox when I grabbed her. all props to, Holly, but I'm picking Nunes over Harrison.
The layoff makes me, I don't know. To me, like I said, I have to run tape a little bit on
I'm just
both
just gut feeling. Like that might change if the fight gets made and I watch more and seeing how they look coming into it. But I mean, Nunes just seems to
She's so
me
good,
like
dude.
she's so good. She hits so hard.
And my whole thing is, and this is a discussion for a later episode, but I know that everybody's like, well, she's a female, she's the GOAT, right? There's some people argue Shevchenko, obviously people argue Cyborg, but Nunes is the GOAT, right? But
Yeah.
honestly, dude, if we're doing let's pull gender out of it, dude, she's up there. Shit, if you ask me, do top 5, top 8.
Yeah, no, record wise, she has to be. Nunes is
Accolades wise, she's so damn good everywhere, man. It's hard to deny that. Anybody that says she's not top 8 is crazy to me.
They're crazy.
Before, sorry to interrupt, but before the UFC divvied up the pound for pound rankings between men and women, I want to say Amanda was number 8 or number 7, dude.
Yeah, she was. I remember that.
Up there, bro.
She deservedly so.
Bingo Ringo, dude. Has to be. She's so damn good. It was bittersweet seeing her leave. I hope if she comes back as a fan, I hope she comes back and she's successful. We'll just have to see, but I think that was the company's plan the whole time. She clearly is open to it. I know Kayla wants it. Let's make it happen. Maybe give Kayla a title shot, and then maybe end of this year, assuming they can book the Pennington fight sooner rather than later, we can get them both in there later this year, maybe early this year. December is always a hot card for the final pay-per-view of the year, so I'm always open for that. It's always the summertime cards, the fight week, the January and the December, and then January, always hot cards. Let's do it. But anyway, moving on. This is one right here.
This is a fight. This is Diego the Hair Lopes, man. He is legit. He's legit. I said this last week. I love this dude. I love this dude. I mean, he's got the personality. He's got superstar written all over him. And you know what he said? Feed me Evolov. I agree. Remake that fight because I don't know if Moscar wins.
So the only pushback I have on that is Movsar is right there, right? If Ortega hadn't won against
Yair,
there'd be argument that it should just be and if Holloway had lost, it would be an argument that just give it to Movsar, whether people like him or not, right? I get what you're. Go ahead.
Moscar has to fight one more time before the belt, right? Unless he's going to sit out a full year.
Wait. Okay. Fair point. Because of what just happened this past weekend, sure.
It's Holloway, 100%. So you would rather see? Would you rather see Brian Ortega versus Moscar and Diego Lopes versus Sterling, or Sterling versus Ortega and Lopes versus Moscar?
Man,
I'm picking Sterling versus Ortega, and yeah, exactly. That seems like the better thing to do from the UFC perspective.
So my cousin and I, when the fight ended, I know we had talked about this. You were way higher on Lopes than I was. I was high, but I was there's still question marks, right? Super Sadiq is very good. Who, like we just said in this last fight, who has ever done him like that? Answer: no one but Diego Lopes. And I think he's not exactly young. He's 28, so it's not like he's old. He's not young. He's kind of entering into that prime age. My cousin Jordan pointed out that maybe his opinion, and I tend to agree. You're probably going to be like, why? Because it is further down in the rankings. But I actually like Lopes versus Dan Ige, because yes, I know it's not a huge step up, but Dan Ige's durable and Dan Ige's good on the ground. That gives him, because look, here's the way I see it. Let's say we push him to Mavzar again, right? Or let's just say we do a weird switch up. Let's say we do Sterling and Mavzar. We do Diego versus Ortega. I could see either of those happening, right? What happens if we push him to that point? And I'm not saying he hasn't like necessarily been proven. The dude's got like what, a ton of pro fights, 30 pro fights.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he can't win, but wouldn't you rather see him get pushed by somebody a little lower, still top 15, but a little lower down the rankings that is a threat? I think it's a good fight either way, but I would rather see him go and fight Ige and then potentially move up than go and fight Mavzar or Ortega or Sterling or Arnold Allen, any of those guys lose, and then it's like, okay, well, shit, we got to kick you outside of the top 15.
All right, so no, I agree, and that's something I thought about, because you want to preserve the hype as long as you can if you're the UFC. But you also want to push him into the biggest fights, because he's got a lot of draw power. He's fun. He's fun, and he's charismatic. I mean, from the people that watched him in his first UFC fight when he took it on 28 hours notice and came in and did that, like, we all knew he was losing the fight. I had no idea who this was whenever he was walking out. And by the end of it, I'm a super fan of Diego Lopes for the performance he put on in that Moscar fight. Just because the submissions he's throwing up are crazy. He's not going to sit there and lose. He's like, I might lose, but I'm going to take your ankle with me. And then he's come in and finished all 3 of the other fights they've given him. You got to give him somebody. Top 50. What is Dan Ige right now? Do you know off the top of your head?
13.
Nah, that's too low.
Well, so I'll pull up the rankings once again, but like you'll see what I'm talking about.
So you don't want to give him. Oh, all right. So
exactly.
Okay. So I see what you're saying here. So it's either he fights one up on Dan Ige, even though coming in not ranked, taking on number 14, knocking him out in a minute and some odd seconds. So then you're talking about, all right, so who's his next challenge? Calvin Kattar is a good fight.
Hey,
I mean, he's coming off a loss, but
what if Dana's pissed and says, "All right, you want to play games?
Sterling.
I can play games. Let's build a superstar over a former champ." What if Dana says, "Let's make Mavzar Evloev versus Brian Ortega and do Aljamain Sterling versus Diego Lopes"? I'm taking Lopes in that one all for a freaking day.
I agree. I think that might be the fight to make. They both are coming in from not ranked in this division. They both got a win over a solid guy. You take what was supposed to happen with Sterling is he comes in and is fighting a great boxer, somebody who's supposed to be able to control distance and keep him off of him. And Calvin Kattar was not up to the challenge. Now you take Diego, who's a ground guy and was supposed to come in against a striker in Super Sadiq, and he just ran through him in the striking department. So now you have 2 elite grapplers who are going to – I don't think I'm actually 100% positive Sterling cannot do what he did to Kattar to Diego Lopes. That might be the fight to make.
That's the fight I want. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I could see Sterling putting a lot of pushback and him not wanting to do it, but I am 110% okay with it. It's a grappler's delight. I could see Sterling. I feel like on the ground, he's just going to be out-muscled. Diego Lopes does not, from a physical specimen perspective, he's not a guy that you look at, in my opinion at least, you're like, damn, that guy is just going to, start your whole family with one shot. And then he goes out here. What he did in that clinch 2 times.
He picked him up off the ground with an uppercut.
2 times.
When he hit him with that uppercut, his feet left the ground. I mean, you don't see that much, especially with the collar tie that he had on him. So he's pulling him both up and down at the same time and still lifts him off his feet. What kind of ridiculous power does this guy have? It's just hidden. That I actually like your argument. I'm changing my vote. Maybe not most cards. Don't push him up that high that quick. Let's see what he does against Sterling. And I'm not a Sterling hater, so I pick Diego Lopes over Sterling right now.
Yeah,
but you know who I don't want to see him fight? I don't want to see him fight Josh Emmett because I don't want to see anybody I like fight Josh Emmett.
Yeah, it's Emmett throws so much like looping shots, but it's like the death touch. You know what I mean?
Bro, all right, he misses. If he misses every shot, then cool, you win the fight. But if he lands one, then your family has to plan a funeral. I mean,
Michael Johnson, who I'm pretty sure haven't watched in a while, but that dude was winning and is on the receiving end of a disgusting knockout.
And then, I mean, everybody knows the Bryce Mitchell one, but that is the scariest knockout I've ever seen in UFC.
Yeah, by far.
I mean, he hit him with one shot. No, was it a follow up? No follow ups. No follow ups at all, and caused him to seize up. I mean, that to me, I don't want to see Bryce Mitchell fight that much more. After that, I got scared. Not scared, but like, well, yeah, scared for him. I don't necessarily want to see him fight again right away. Kind of like the Weidman thing with a broken leg. Like, I just don't throw a kick, please. Like, I just if I see Bryce Mitchell fight again, I'm gonna be like, please don't get hit. I don't want to see another. I don't want to see somebody get seriously injured in there like that with like the convulsions. So I would rather see. I like that fight, bro. So who you got next for Sadiq? Does he have to fight somebody outside the rankings now?
Yeah, definitely outside of the rankings. Let's see here. Let me switch over.
Isn't Peyton Talbot featherweight?
No, Peyton Talbot's 35.
Ah, okay, because that could be a good fight.
How about Super Sadiq versus? He's booked though. That would be an interesting one, right? Let's see. Is he booked? Yeah, he is against Jack Schwarzer. I was gonna say Yo Anderson Brito.
Okay.
Man, well, Billy Q's coming off of a loss.
Billy Q versus Super Sadiq.
Oh, they're both coming off of losses.
Yeah.
Billy Q and Super Sadiq. Let's do it.
I like it. I like that. I really like the Sterling versus Diego Lopes fight. That could be a fun fight.
I can tell you that Sterling don't want it, but
no,
they strong arm.
Sterling was talking about how he's looking for a title fight off that, but you don't get a title fight off of control time, is my opinion.
Fact.
What was the next one? It was, if I remember right, all right, so time for me to eat my words. I was right until I was wrong, okay? I did like his range. I liked his range. I thought Moicano was going to have a tough time with the power, and I wasn't wrong. But what did I text you right after this? I'm off the Turner hype train. I've cashed in my tickets. I sold all my stock, my Turner stock. That was the dumbest thing. He thought he was Sean O'Malley. He thought he had main character syndrome. Dude, I have never been so embarrassed for a fighter. I was so you could watch the last episode. Anybody that has not seen it, I was so hype on Turner versus Moicano. I thought Moicano was going to get starched. I thought he was going to lose this fight handily. I thought Turner could be the next big thing in lightweight. And then he looked good in the first round. He smoked him with that right hand, put Moicano on his back and said, okay, I'm done fighting now. Bro, the ground and pound. Have you ever seen a fighter get ground and pound that's hitting his arms and look like he's about to cry and turn away? Did you? I'm off. I sold all my stock.
Here's my thing. I'm not going to give him a hard time for the grappling exchanges. Shit happens, right? I'm not going to give him a hard time about that. Definitely not going to give him a hard time about the striking for obvious reasons. I'm going to give him a hard time for quite possibly Well, first off, 100%. I know we're only a third of the way through the year, but 100% bonehead move of the year, if not bonehead move of the last like 5 years. That was horrendous, dude. When
And then he
hit the
had the
back,
gall to look at the ref and say, "Why didn't you stop it?" While Moicano was in his face, bro. He was clearly stunned. He was dazed. Moicano took a shot that rocked him. If Turner follows him down and throws some elbows, throws some ground and pound like he did against Bobby Green, maybe he's scarred from the Bobby Green fight and say, "I don't want to murder somebody in here." Well, then you're in the wrong business. Finish your fight. Finish your fight, man. I get that was that shot was clean, and he wanted that performance bonus. He wanted that one shot knockout walk away. But make sure he's out.
bonehead. I'm telling you, you'll be hard pressed to find somebody this year make a dumber decision than that.
Mark my words,
horrendous.
That is career defining. And
Yeah.
I mean this. You that's in his head now. So now he's had three things. I don't know if you saw this interview, but they asked him what happened, what went wrong in the last half of the Dan Hooker fight. And he said when he kicked him in the head, he saw how dazed he was, and when he kept fighting, I can't remember how he phrased it, but he was basically like, "I thought I killed him with that head kick." And he kept fighting, and he kind of like lost his will to fight. And the Bobby Green thing happens. I didn't see an interview after this, but he basically murdered Bobby Green, like we talked about last episode. And in this fight, I mean, he's had 3 fights back and back to back that have said some weird ending. And I think this is just going to be a common thread with him. I think he's going to have this bad luck going forward. I can't imagine you getting into the cage the next time and just being able to shrug this off and be like, "Oh, I don't have to think about the fact that I had the fight in the bag, and then I keep making these decisions like the Dan Hooker fight, like this fight, that you just keep throwing these fights away. You just keep giving them away." It's not like, I mean, Moicano did come back and fight a good fight and won, but he looked defeated coming into the second round. Like, this fight should be over. I knocked him out. No, you didn't. You knocked him down.
Yeah. And I just looked at Tapology, because Tapology obviously is an official rankings. It's like the public rankings, right? But it extends past top 15. I have our 2 fights to make off of this one. To me, this is no-brainers. Based off of what we said earlier about like Gaethje and Benny and what Charles maybe should do and so on and so forth. Here are the 2 fights to make, in my opinion. They're both coming off of wins. One coming off of 2 far more impressive wins as opposed to the latter. It's definitely got to be, in my opinion, and I think stylistically it is a very, very fun and very interesting fight. We've got to do Hinata Moicano versus Mateusz Gamrot. To me, makes utmost sense.
Yep.
That
was actually the fight I was thinking of.
Such a fun fight. And then, screw it. They both lost to the same guy back to back. Let's do Drew Dober versus Jalen Turner. They're both coming off of losses to Hinata Moicano. Okay,
yeah. That's a good fight too.
They're both.
That's a good fight too. I was thinking since Steamroller doesn't have a fight anymore, his fight fell through. Maybe Jalen Turner versus Matt Frivola. That's kind of the one I had a thought in my head, but I do like you. I like your idea is better.
Stylistically, both of those make more sense for him to get back. For all 3 of them to get in a good position. They're both. But all 3 are coming off of losses. Like,
I think if you're Steamroller, I think you look to fight Bobby Green. I think. Okay. I know he's coming off a loss, but he's coming off a loss to Benoit Saint Denis, who's proven himself to be a good fighter. Steamroller is 1-4 in his last 5. So you take him. I think you could make him versus Bobby Green or Jalen Turner versus Steamroller would be a good fight as well, because they're both coming off a loss.
I agree. So moving on, next down the list, I think I called this one pretty
Yeah, you
damn
did.
close to how it played out, save for the finishing aspect. Andrade versus Mahina Rodriguez. Mahina was winning every round until she wasn't. She controlled range. I thought that was definitely a good possibility, even though I thought that the difference maker would be either wrestling or a knockout. Turns out it wasn't wrestling or a knockout, but top game / wrestling and a power differential. Moment winning versus minute winning. I know there were a lot of people that were really high on Mahina Rodriguez for a long time. I never quite caught like the super fascination with it. I saw like, okay, well, she's really good. She's a top ranked girl, but like, is she going to be champ at this point? Like, no shot. Like, can you imagine what Weili Zhang would do to her? Horrible things. Tatiana's horrible things. It would be no shot. But I thought that was it was a competitive fight. I don't know. To me personally, I see things two different ways. People say close fight. I like to say close fight and competitive fight. I think it was a competitive fight, but I thought it was a pretty clear winner. And was that one split? Yeah, that one was split.
Yeah, this was something I want to talk to you. The judging on this one was weird because I had this pretty clearly in Andrade's favor. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I gotta brush up on the judging criteria because I am not in step with some of these people.
Neither are the judges.
Yeah, bro, I need a written criteria because I've heard it's damage. I've heard damage ranks above everything is what I've been told recently.
Yep.
But then, so if you do that, when Jessica touched her, there was obvious reactions. When Marina touched her, yeah, she hit her. She was landing, but there was a clear difference in power and in ability. Yeah, in your reaction. That's what I was looking for. I found this fight to be I thought it was clear 29-28, and then it came out split decision, which again I thought the Charles Oliveira fight was clearly 29-28, and it came out split decision, which is I just don't agree with Chris Lee, but whatever.
Yeah. So if I look at the I don't know why I'm looking at that. Let's go back to
Can you pull up those ranks for me? There you go.
So everybody above our girl Jessica here, where is she? Strawweight. She has fought all four girls above her, obviously, except for Weili, which that's not gonna happen.
Do you do the winner of Tatiana versus Weili fights her, or do you make her fight again? Because she already fought down in the rankings twice.
She's on a 2-fight winning streak, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Amanda Lemos versus Xiaonan, that makes sense. I don't want to. I mean, I guess he would have to make Jessica Andrade fight down for a third time in a row, and then reward her with a title shot. I guess because it's just the way it lines up.
It has to be if she's gonna fight down without a title shot, which means she probably is sitting around for a while. It'd be Brundage and Aruba. I just like you look at the rest of the rankings here. I mean, Luana's coming off of a loss. Amanda Hebas is coming off of a loss, up a weight class. But
what about Dern? Didn't
she destroyed Mackenzie Dern, dropped her like 3 or 4 times.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that fight.
Big guy. Sorry, and the dog just rolled on. Yeah, I think it's Brundage and a title shot or nothing else for Jessica.
I think she waits. If I'm Jessica Andrade, I wait because there's no other contender out there besides Suarez.
Yep, and Suarez is it. Suarez is getting it. And
all right, so who do you make Rodriguez fight then?
Is Luana Pinheiro booked? Let's see. Go to Tapology. I don't like switching screens.
Ooh, I like. Wait, who has Loopy fought in a minute?
Loopy's booked, I think. Is she? Loopy is. I think Loopy actually might fight this weekend.
Okay.
Oh no, she's not booked. She just lost to Berna. I mean, we can do.
Okay.
You can do Lupi Godinez versus
I think
Julina
Lupi's good.
Rodriguez.
I think
Yeah.
she's got some potential. She's so young, right?
Yeah.
I think that might be a fight to make. Because Lupi needs to be challenged on with pressured against the fence, and Marina's somebody who can do it to her. So that might not be a bad fight to make. But I don't know another. I'm just trying to think. I don't know. Marina, she has some options. She has way more options than Andrade does right now.
Yeah, for sure. I got to run and shut a door real quick because the dogs keep going out there. But the next one is
I got a story for this one.
Yeah, so if you want to start, take it away, give it a brief breakdown. I will be right back.
Yes, sir. So on this one, I watched. This was the second fight of the night. My buddy that came over to watch these fights, he did not realize that it could be this intense. This fight was his fight of the night. Actually, I think this is a sleeper for fight of the night. That fight, Bobby Green and Jim Miller, they put on an absolute war, and I'm glad to see that Bobby bounced back because that first round he looked a little bit timid. When we were watching this fight, man, it looked like in the beginning Jim Miller might just do Jim Miller things and really start getting away with this. But then once Bobby found his range and got more comfortable, it seemed like he was a little bit nervous to get hit at first, which completely understandable with what happened against Turner last time. So once he got a little bit comfortable, he just put on an absolute clinic, and it was crazy. I think if I remember right, the striking differential was he was over by almost 100, landed. I think he had 130, 140 more strikes than Jim Miller landed, not attempted, landed. I think the amount he attempted was double. I think he attempted well over 300 strikes. But man, when Jim Miller was bloodied and bruised, that was that was amazing. That was an amazing fight. If Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje weren't on the card, clearly fight of the night. Clearly fight of the night. This was an amazing fight.
Yeah. My boy Wes and I, or the whole table, but Wes kept leaning into me like, dude, like at least shoot. At least.
No.
Well,
I'm glad they did what they did.
Down in the third round. Come on,
just
guy.
bang it out like men.
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, shoot if you're trying to win, I guess. But he wasn't winning. He wasn't going to win the fight.
Yeah,
you might as well try to throw something. And he hit it. He stumbled him in the third round.
Yes.
So he knocked Bobby Green back, and he caught him with that. I want to say it was a check left hook, but that could be completely wrong. But I remember he rocked him in the third round, and like at that point, bro, you have lost the second round clearly. Bad. You lost the third round majority of it. So when you got him rocked, don't shoot. You're not winning. Go for the 300K. I mean, I personally think they should have got a bonus. They should have got a performance bonus. I mean, that was a fight, dude. My buddy, I don't know, could you hear me while you were gone?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So he thought that they would stop the fight when there was that much blood. That's one thing he asked me, like, they're going to let him keep fighting? And I was like, let him. He'll fight them if they try to stop it. You know?
Did you see the – oh, God bless. Bro. Horrendous.
But horrendous. This was a cool fight to explain to somebody who had never seen UFC. So this is the second fight he's ever seen live. And he's like, why does Bobby Green keep his hands down like that? I'm like, that's his style. So I don't know if you saw the broadcast for this one, right? Joe Rogan was talking about his keys to victory. One of them was talking crap, getting in Jim Miller's head. And he's like, is that real? And I'm like, dude, if you're winging punches at somebody and you're hitting air and they're going like talking crap to you the whole time, of course that's gonna mess with you. And that first round, whenever Bobby Green was getting beat up, he was like, doesn't seem like it's working that well. I'm like, it isn't. But the second round, when he found his range, like, see that what he's doing was hands down and showboat and stuff. Like, you're just adding frustration to Jim Miller. And Jim Miller did Jim Miller things and survived and was an animal. But this fight, I really like that Bobby got his confidence back.
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah.
first round, he did not have his confidence. He
No.
didn't want to get hit.
No, exactly. And my buddy and I, it's funny that you brought up the shit talking aspect. My buddy and I were talking, or we were watching, and my cousin Jordan, he loves Bobby Green. And I mean, I like Bobby Green too, but he really likes him. And actually, shout out to Jordan, one of his favorite fights of all time, Jim Miller versus Joe Lozon 1. That's one of his when we're sitting around either hanging out or we go to a bar to watch fights. We come back to the house. If we're not listening to music, we're doing fight reruns, and that's one of his go-tos. So anyway, but we were talking about, like, God, can you imagine how frustrating it would be, even if you're landing your shots, to have some dude just sitting there flapping gums at you? That's got to be obnoxious, like, or even if you're winning,
demoralizing.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, dude, it definitely didn't go the way I planned it to.
No, I think I took, if we watched, I watched the episode back, but I can't remember. I think I was leaning Jim Miller because of I was Jim Miller because of the Bobby Green coming off of a bad knockout in a short amount of time, which again, I don't disagree with that point. But Bobby Green, once he got comfortable, because he was timid, like we had never seen Bobby Green in those first about 3.5 to 4 minutes. He was he still has hands down. He's still doing the Bobby Green style, but he wasn't letting his hands go. And that was when Jim Miller could find his rhythm. Once he landed a few combos, there was one combo about a minute into the second round where you can see Bobby Green's whole demeanor change, where he goes left, right, and misses, and Jim Miller whiffs, and he does like that. He does a little thing. That's when you can see the tide start to shift, because he's like, okay, I got to be myself in there. And Bobby Green, when he's himself, when he's fighting like himself, he's great. I mean, he was piecing up Drew Dober, then got rocked. The Jalen Turner fight was too short to see anything, but this fight really showed it. When Bobby Green fights his own fight, he can hang with the best of them.
Yeah. So how about maybe I don't.
Oh, there's one fight to make. There's one fight to make with Bobby Green, and that's Paddy Pimblett.
That's the fight he wants.
Would you not make that fight? That's top 15. All right, so who would you rather see Bobby Green fight? If you like, who's an ideal opponent?
Rather, probably nobody. But I don't see Paddy. I just don't see it happening. If it does, cool. But if it doesn't,
why can't you see it happening?
Well, because Paddy's trying to fight people to pad his record, obviously.
Okay, so you think it's too hard of a fight for Paddy?
I mean, I would, after Saturday, I might favor Bobby Green over Paddy Pimblett, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if we're still doing this matchmaker thing, right? So if you're the UFC with that really good call out that he had, you don't try to make that fight?
I mean, yes and no. I could see them doing either or. But the fight for me, to me, if they don't, right? He's right on the fringe, right? Of the top 15. He lost to Jalen. He just beat Jim Miller. He's coming off a win. We got a guy who is fringe top 10 coming off of a loss. Why don't we do Bobby Green versus Benoit Saint-Denis?
Yeah, I can see that one. Man, I just want to see. I think Benoit Saint-Denis, that could be a fun fight. I just like the idea of Paddy having to fight Bobby Green so much better.
I mean, I do too.
But you're, like you said, will Paddy take that? I'm not 100% sure that Paddy will take that fight.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Would you mind pulling up the rankings for me real quick for lightweight?
Yeah, hold on just a second. Oh yeah, we already have them open.
So they're a little bit further down.
They're further up. Oop, nope, I passed it.
There we go. All right. So is he number 15 right now, Bobby Green?
No, he's not.
Okay. Okay.
Oh no, yeah, he is.
Yeah. I thought he was. I thought I'd seen that. So he's in the top 15. Do you make him fight Benoit at number 13? So he just fought down in the rankings. Oh, what about Dan Hooker? Bobby Green, Dan Hooker.
Well, that's an interesting one.
I don't think you can give him anybody higher than that. I don't want to see him fight Dos Santos because Dos Santos I think will make it more of a grappling fight. Benoit Saint Denis could be a fun fight. He's already fought Turner. So I think your real options are Dan Hooker, Benoit Saint Denis. I don't love that fight from Bobby Green. I now switch my camp and I'm like, if I'm Bobby Green, do I take Benoit Saint Denis? I think I take the easier fight one level up on Dan Hooker, one ranking up on Dan Hooker. Not that Dan Hooker's an easier fight. I don't think Dan Hooker's an easy fight, but I would, if I'm Bobby Green, I would much rather fight Hooker or Pimblett over Benoit.
Yeah, I can't disagree.
I have no idea who Jim Miller fights.
Maybe not Frat, Matt Frivola.
That could be a great fight because I mean, if there was a number 6
the last time, assuming he won, they're both coming off of losses. Like, why not, right?
That's a good fight. I like Frivola. So like, you know how you have like a little bit of history with Rakić through like Frivola has I've talked to him a little bit through Twitter. So like, it's like when you meet somebody and you humanize them, you got like a little bit more like. I root for him just a little bit more. So I want to see like Frivola get back in the top 15. So I want to see him fight somebody like I want to see him fight somebody I think he can beat, and Jim Miller might be that guy. I can definitely see that, and that'd be a big fight for him. That's a big name.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so this stream kicks us off. This stream kicks us off in 7 minutes. I didn't realize that. I just had a flashback and remembered to look.
All right, so we got to do this
fight to break down, and then we can talk on the next episode about some other stuff I want to talk about. So real quick, and if we got a couple minutes at the end, let's breeze through it. Cody Garbrandt versus Davison Figueiredo. Davison now sits in the rankings. Where did you go, my brother? Number 6. I thought, just looking at this fight, Davison obviously was the slower guy. Cody looked crisp. Cody looked fast. Cody was given a hard time for the takedowns, but Davison managed to get it. And when he finally got it, he really had his way down there. He locked in the choke. It was really unfortunate, and I feel bad, like, forgetting that we had a time constraint with this thing. Excuse me. Because this fight deserves a lot of talk. But Davison looked good. It was really hard to see Cody lose. You could see in his eyes that he was really defeated. But
I really want fighters to stop coming into these big events not at 100%. He said he had been struggling with vertigo, and when he went to the ground, he I don't know if you saw this interview, just happened a day or so ago. When he said on the takedown, when he hit the back of his head, the vertigo kicked in, and he didn't know which way was up and which way was down. That's why he spun the wrong way. I get that because his takedown, his get back, when he got back to his feet from the first 2 takedowns, he looked crisp, he looked good. And I actually thought he was starting to pull away with it in the first round. I thought his striking was crisper. So I was really, and I'm a Cody fan. I like him. So it was hard to see him lose like that. But it also made me a little bit happy to see that he could take a shot now. He's not crumbling.
Yep. I tell you, so looking at like the actual rankings and then looking at like Tapology, I tell you the 2 fights that I think we need to make. They were, I don't want to say they were both destined per se, but how about Davison Figueiredo versus Henry Cejudo maybe? I mean, I guess maybe versus Piotr Jan. mean, Pereira, there's really no other dance partners, right? It's Marab and
Yeah.
Corey above him. So Piotr or Henry Cejudo, or Cheeto, one of the two. Those four could be intermixed.
Yep.
Could be intermixed with one another. And then when you get outside the rankings on Tapology, it makes sense for Cody Garbrandt versus Adrian Yanez. I like that one.
Oh
They're
yeah,
coming
that's a
off the
good
losses.
fight, and that's
They're
a
both
fight
great
I think Cody
boxers.
can win.
I think so too. And actually, is Adrian booked? I don't think Adrian has a dance partner. I hope he doesn't. And he does. He's oh God.
Who's he fighting?
Vinicius Salvador, the dude that got the was that the one that I think it is? Oh no, that's somebody else. Never mind. Disregard that. I was about to sound super, super casual. That one comes up in May, so that's 3 weeks away. Well, damn it.
I think Yanez. I almost favor Cody in that fight.
Yeah, I kind of do too. How about
I don't know, man.
How about Chris Gutierrez? Does Chris Gutierrez got a dance partner? Chris Gutierrez doesn't have a dance partner. They're both coming off a lawsuit.
Yeah, I was about to say. You know what fight could be fun, but I don't think they make this is Cody Garbrandt versus Kyler Phillips. That's a banger fight. But
Ooh, that's a good one.
I think he's already got a fight lined up.
Kyler does already?
Yeah, I thought so.
Does he? I know he just fought. Shit, you could do Cody versus Ricky Simone, or shit, you could do Cody versus let's see.
Ooh, Simone could be fun.
Simone could be fun. And
give him a striker.
How about I mean, he's pretty well rounded. He can grapple and strike. Raoni Barcelos is always an option.
Barcelos is a good fight.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't give him Kyler Phillips. You can't give him a top 10 off that.
No, absolutely.
But it would be a fun fight.
I wish Adrian Yanez wasn't booked. That's a damn good fight. Now, hey, we could always pray. The guy he's fighting, who did I say it was? Vinicius Salvador. He's coming off of 2 losses. We can hope and pray that maybe he knocks out Vinicius and makes it a quick one, and maybe we can get a quick turnaround for both guys, because I think that would be a fantastic fight. That'd be a good one. That'd be so damn good.
Bro, that would be a banger fight. That would be. I mean, somebody's going to sleep.
Oh, 100%. 100%, especially with both of them and their history recently. Yes, 100%. Well, we're closing in on the time that this thing allows for us. I thought we went longer with the stuff that we did, that we covered, than I expected. But I think it was awesome. I'm glad we could meet up again and do this. I'm hoping next week we can do the same thing. We can
absolutely.
I'm going to try to get in some tape study for the fights next weekend. There's a few of them. I'm drawing a blank, like right off the top of my head, but there's some bangers. This will be the first episode to drop on Spotify. I'm going to get this all uploaded tonight. So follow us on Spotify, Bloodied and Bruised podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow on Spotify. I already said that. Share with your friends. Spread the word. You got anything you want to add, Kristian?
Nah, man, I'm just happy to be here.
Happy to be here. As I opened with all right. So we got to close with another one, man. Everybody be blessed. Everybody just keep living, man. LIVIN.
Y'all have a good one.